The Lost Key. Part 1. In recent years, critically thinking people have shown a significant increase in interest in studying our real history, in exposing the lies that we've been so persistently fed, and most importantly, in revealing the secret of energy technologies of the past. Attempts to understand the essence of this phenomenon have been undertaken by various people at different times. Some have done it more successfully, some less. But I personally was led to this topic by the articles of a person nicknamed Tech_Dancer, who has made a huge contribution to the development of this direction. Largely thanks to his numerous articles, people have become seriously interested in the topic of forgotten energy technologies, which had previously been considered nonsense and invention of conspiracy theorists. It is worth saying that there are still quite a lot of people who do not want to admit the existence of such technologies in the past. But I will not put any labels on anyone, as we indeed live in a very complicated time from all points of view. Since this article turned out to be very long, I decided to divide it into two parts. The first part is devoted to summarizing everything that has been found in recent years, as well as some new aspects that, for some reason, have practically never been covered by anyone. The second part focuses on trying to explain the physical principles behind the sought for technology. As you may have already understood, my research largely relies on the factual base built by the researcher Tech_Dancer. However, I must warn you in advance that the phenomena that I will look into should not be limited in your mind by terms such as atmospheric electricity, which is incorrect in relation to this phenomenon, and even etheric energy, due to vagueness of the term. Before we can confidently classify what we are dealing with, we first need to sort everything out. The idea that advanced technologies existed in the past has always been around. However, until just recently it was believed that no significant evidence or artifacts proving this idea exist. But the development of information technology, and particularly the internet, has greatly simplified the process of processing and spreading information, which has allowed various researchers enthusiasts to gain access to all kinds of digital archives of old photographs. Whether it was an oversight on the part of the censorship, or someone's intentional actions, but among the photos that appeared in the public domain, there were those that did not fit at all into the official historical picture. In particular, these were photographs depicting some strange devices made in the form of vessels/balls/spheres. Over time, many more examples were found, which demonstrated the use of these devices in various fields. The most widespread case of their use turned out to be installation on the roofs of buildings. The installation of these vessels at the level of the roofs at various stone structures in many ways prompted the idea that the secret of this technology is somehow connected with the atmosphere. However, everything turned out to be far from simple and unambiguous. After all, the use of these vessels extends far beyond roofs and dome structures alone. Similar vessels are also found on ordinary, or not quite ordinary, furniture. A lot of evidence has been gathered so far. These are just a few examples. The main purpose of these devices, presumably, was either to generate some energy, or to enter into resonance with it. Another extremely important property of the lost technology, in addition to energy generation, was the ability to positively affect organic and inorganic matter. Without delving at this stage into the subtleties of how exactly this could work, we can say that this effect made people and other living organisms healthy and happy, and also neutralized harmful viruses and bacteria. This technology was very undesirable for the forces that seized power on our planet about 200 years ago. A flourishing and healthy society from a physical and moral point of view that has access to technologies for obtaining unlimited, free and clean energy absolutely did not fit into the plans of the dark forces that occupied our civilization. That's why the technology was hidden and forgotten. Returning to the question of how this technology works, it should be noted that one of the main principles behind it is related to the way these vessels and installations are located in space. In almost all cases, we are dealing with a geometrically correct arrangement, both at a local level and at the level of the entire engineering network. According to Tech_Dancer's vision, the secret of the addressed vessels is hidden within themselves. According to information obtained from various sources, the vessels contain a certain substance, presumably synthesized using mercury and gold, which has a red tint. Of course, it is impossible to see its real color through an opaque vessel, but its use was not always limited to opaque containers. Quite a large number of unusual artifacts have survived with containers for liquid, which now are considered to have religious origin and purpose. And although most of them are already empty or contain all sorts of foreign items, the original contents can still be seen in some rare cases. If you may doubt about the left artifact, those from the painting on the right evoke much more confidence. Perhaps this is the very magic substance that alchemists were so eager to get from the stories about the Philosopher's Stone, or the same mystical red mercury that does not exist officially, but may get you into trouble if you somehow manage to obtain it. If the desired substance can indeed be created using gold and mercury, this well explains why gold is the most reliable and solid world currency, being at the same time expensive and difficult to obtain, as well as why mercury was declared an extremely dangerous and toxic element that should be forced out of household usage. The assumption that these two elements could be used together to create the special substance is evidenced by the fact that gold and mercury are adjacent elements in the periodic table, which indicates their similarity at the atomic level. Nevertheless, it is almost impossible to find any relevant guides or books providing explanation of the physical or chemical principles behind this technology. Over the years, I personally have found only one piece of evidence related to the unusual use of mercury that is worthy of mentioning. It is taken from the Scientific American magazine, particularly the issue released on 21st of January 1888, thanks to K.D. from Stolen History. Alt for this finding. Seeing the mention of Gisela Q, one could stop reading and calm down, as this is an ordinary gas discharge lamp. The physical principle behind these lamps is that electrically conductive gas, including mercury vapor, is pumped into the flask, which is then supplied with a current that makes it glow. Nothing forbidden. However, the text reveals some really curious details if we read it carefully. The text makes it clear that the mercury inside the tubes is not gaseous but liquid, since it directly speaks about movement of mercury in a circle at different angles and its friction against the walls. Therefore, it is definitely not a gas discharge lamp. The text also describes in detail other types of lamps at the beginning, as a contrast, which excludes the possibility of explaining this phenomenon by some external power sources. The tubes glow exclusively due to the circular movement of mercury inside them. Not sure about you, but I personally have never come across such properties of mercury, and I could not find anything similar on the internet to somehow explain this physical phenomenon. My guesses boil down to the fact that mercury is capable of acquiring special properties when it is given a specific rotation, and possibly also a specific shape. Moreover, the text does not say anything about the material that tubes and barriers are made of, which means, perhaps, that they hide some part of the secret. Anyway, at this stage I just wanted to introduce you to this example. You will have the opportunity to think about it and draw your own conclusions, but for now, let's continue to recap what is known for sure. Even though we can't be sure about the contents and exact purpose of the mysterious vessel so far, we can't avoid the fact that there were other elements too. Some old photos contain various variations of columns/obelisks and pillars, which are usually equipped with either vessels or specific tops/finials. It is obvious that they were all elements of one energy system. Not everything is highlighted here either. The cross marks utility poles for the telegraph line, as these are often confused with the elements of the technology in question. It should be noted that even those small cranes that we come across in old photographs belong to a time when the sword for technology was already on the verge of being completely dismantled from everywhere. By the time photography reappeared, individual elements of those installations already no longer functioned, or functioned in a limited mode. Columns, which recently were part of the energy infrastructure, now stand like ordinary poles, where advertising posters are glued. while trams are pulled by horses. The photo shows that the obelisk is torched in the area of the finial, which most likely happened as a result of a general failure in the operation of the power grid, or due to incorrect use of this particular installation. Almost all of the available photos of that time simultaneously show elements of both old and new technologies. The reason for this is that the period during which these photographs were taken, the second half of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th, falls exactly at the time when the transition from one technological paradigm to another took place. This period of time is presented to us as an age of unprecedented discoveries, like electricity, telegraph and radio. But in reality all this was just a kind of reset, during which people were pushed backward, rather than forward in development. This was done in order to create the most suitable conditions for total control of people and suppression of their will, which was probably impossible in the presence of former technologies. But we will not delve into this issue now, since it is crystal clear. The purpose of this section was to briefly concentrate the information that has been collected so far. Now let's try to find and insert the missing puzzles into the existing picture.